thousands of years ago, they were Apollo, Zeus, Ares. Now they are Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the other heroes and villains of DC and Marvel Comics. Join us every week as we discuss the legendary stories, characters, concepts, and other parts of comics as we examine the modern pantheon of heroes. Let's get heroic. Welcome to Under Two Capes, the podcast for the comic book fan. Welcome to Under Two Capes News. I'm Jared, and so I just found out about a little bit more about Marvel's new Heroes Reborn initiative thing that they're doing in May, and I have some kind of mixed feelings about it. Now, let me share my screen so I can show you what I'm seeing, because this is something that's actually pretty interesting. All right, so wrong screen. Technical difficulties, folks. Why does it keep sharing this? All right, so the point is, let me try and bring this over to here. I'm just trying to get this Zoom to share the right screen. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right. So here's what I'm talking about here. So now it starts off. I got this notification today about this, and it's about Kamala Khan, Miles Morales, and Magneto, and more join Marvel's Heroes Reborn in 2021, which I think is pretty cool. It's a cool idea to revamp everything. So then I see, okay, so they're renaming Kamala Khan Girl Power. Now note that this is going to be in an alternate world, I believe, not like the main continuity, as I originally thought until I read the article. Now, here's where I kind of here's where my mixed feelings come in. Number one, so the basic story of this Heroes Reborn, it's a world where the Avengers never came together. In their place is the Squadron Supreme, which we did an episode for it on the podcast, on a 2K's podcast, Spotify, where they're basically Marvel's rip-off version of the Justice League from DC. Now, the DC fan of me is a little peeved. Number one, I'm like, you're straight up ripping off DC now. You're saying, okay, so we're going to have the Justice League be hanging out in our universe now. And I'm like, yeah, but you have the Avengers. Now, here's the positive. Here's where my positive feelings are. Squadron Supreme, because I'm a big Squadron Supreme fan. Particularly, I mean, I liked, obviously being a DC fan. Let me go back here. I'm gonna go to images real quick so we can see, like, okay, so being a DC fan, I'm kind of a fan of this because look, it's exactly like when Lad and I did that episode a little while ago. I forget which one it is. It was, we were talking about the Squadron Supreme redesign that was supposed to be part of Empire, but they canceled that title, and we never heard of this before, but it's like Power Princess looks straight up like Wonder Woman. So basically they made the Justice League. So as a DC fan, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I could read about basically the Justice League in Marvel, which, let me put it this way. As it stands right now, this is about the closest we're going to get to a DC Marvel crossover. That's it. So I'll take it when I can get it. But so my perception here is that Marvel seems to be ripping off DC again with ripping off DC's kind of future state. Now, what I mean by that is that, so future state's supposed to be like a future, an alternate, well, not alternate. It's the same world, but it's in the future. I mean, it's kind of alternate in that it doesn't necessarily have to happen. I mean, it's the future. They could just legit change some events based on. What I think is going to happen is at the end of Future State, they're going to, when they're done with the event, they're going to see what people like, what people didn't like. And then what they're going to do based on that is they're going to like modify like their Future State timeline to say, okay, so these things people like, so let's keep that. The other stuff, let's throw it away. Now, what I mean by this is that, so technically it's an alternate world because it's not the world we're in right now. So let's just say that. So what you're doing right now, and I love how this is running kind of concurrent. Well, this is going to be after Future State, but I think it's kind of weird is that so I'm still waiting to see if if Marvel's going to do the same thing about what DC did, where where they put a pause on publishing their regular books like Captain America, Avengers, and all that stuff, and just do this, or this is going to go concurrently. Now, another thing I'm wondering is what effect is this going to have on the Marvel universe? Because, I mean, this is being marketed as some type of big event, but I mean, how big? Are we talking King in Black big, where like the symbiotes take over the Earth? Are we talking like Civil War big? I mean, or is this just going to be like a one and done thing? And also, okay, so I get it. It's like an alternate history, but I'm like, I mean, I think I can sum up my opinion on this with with what I think people are wondering about too when this was announced. Why? What's this going to do? How is this going to add on to how is this going to make Marvel better? Which I guess it's like, well, we have these cool Squadron Supreme redesigns that are ripoffs of the Justice League, and we have to like put them in there. Which I guess when you think about it that way, it's pretty cool. And I mean, like, so basically with the Kamala Khan story, so this is actually pretty interesting. So if you guys don't know, you probably do. Kamala Khan is basically like the fangirl of the Marvel universe, in the same way that Spider-Man was in the beginning. So what they did is they take these heroes and they're inspired by the Squadron Supreme. Because remember, the Squadron Supreme is the premier Earth superhero team. It's not the Avengers because the Avengers never came up together. Which I guess that's an interesting new way to look at it, but I don't know. I'm just wondering the effect that this is actually going to have on the Marvel universe, because I don't want it to be like some event that just happens like that just happens and it just gets thrown away. Because I mean, if this is like this could also be Marvel because it's an alternate world. This could be Marvel trying to dig into the multiverse and start like playing with that, which I like. DC does that to great success with like Injustice or Deceased. I hope Marvel can pull this off well, because I would love a world where it's just Squadron Supreme, because then it's pretty much like DC Comics, and I can just roll into Marvel and be like, all right, let's do this. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like a interesting event per se. Yes, the Marvel. Okay, so let's go to Marvel.com. This is the Marvel Universe without the Avengers. So here's the main image. That's like Captain Marvel, except she was never like Captain Marvel. She was just Carol Danvers' test pilot. In other words, Green Lantern ripoff. Tony Stark, if he never became a Iron Man. Captain America, if he never thawed out. There's like lots of different ways of looking at this. That's the Juggernaut if you were Doctor Doom, which I think looks weird. I do love the designs for the Squadron. I mean, come on. It would be interesting, actually, if the Squadron Supreme made this world. Because if they're sticking with the original origin for this iteration of the Squadron, they were made by Mephisto. And if you notice, we see him right about over here. So what I'm wondering is, are they going to make it where this Squadron finds out that they're like artificial and they're not actual like human beings, and then they want to be the premier superhero team somehow? How that works, that'd be interesting. That actually has the potential to be a really dope story if they went with that. And so let's see. It's only natural after Reborn is the next big step in the massive super story. Okay, let's see. So according to Jason Aaron, he says, maybe the wildest story I've ever put on paper. I got to cut loose on this and release my inner comic reared child in a really profound way. And together with the cadre of immensely imaginative artists, we build a world that I'm pretty confident in saying is quite unlike any version of the Marvel universe you've seen before. He said it grew out of the pages of my Avengers run, but kept getting bigger and bigger as it went. And the more pieces I put in place for this reborn world, the more gleeful and excited again. So wait a second. All right, so they're saying Reborn. They're probably going back to the original Heroes Reborn thing and just Reborn in general, but something new era has to offer. What I'm wondering is how long is this going to go? Because, I mean, is this Marvel actually doing their first reboot? Because as far as I know, they've never really done a reboot. That'd be interesting if they do that. That'd be really interesting if they do it and just make it in this new continuity that the Squadron Supreme was the first superheroes. Maybe they get taken out somehow, and like the world needs a new superhero team, so they find and thaw out Captain America. Tony Stark goes into the desert, gets blown up, and then becomes Iron Man. Captain Marvel encounters a Kree. Actually, Ms. Marvel. She's supposed to be Ms. Marvel. Gets her powers. That'd be super cool. So, in closing, and Lad and I will do a lot of. We'll be discussing this tomorrow when we do our episode, which, by the way, is going to cover the DC story Doomsday Clock. So, be excited for that one. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Generally, I'm a hopeful guy when it comes to a superhero to comics. So, I mean, let me put it this way: I'm hoping it works out. It looks like actually that Thanos screws around with the Infinity Gauntlet based on that image. All right. Well, anyway, stay heroic. Hope you guys have a good day, and I will hopefully be you'll hopefully be hearing me tomorrow when I upload the episode with Lad. Anyway, bye bye.